Hey, welcome to the Trailer Island podcast. We're here for another week, and we're a bit for a. Is this a review or a re something or rather?
It's a restoration.
Either way, it's 4 hours long.
Yeah, unlike this podcast, which will not be 4 hours long. Don't worry, unless you watch 8 episodes in a row.
That is something you could do. Yeah, have a marathon.
Yeah, Trailer Island marathon. Are you Trailer Island marathoning? Let us know on the Facebook page and stuff. No. Hey, I'm Alex, and I'm joined by
Steve.
And Martha.
Yes, and we are the Trailer Island podcast. We compare films and their trailers. Did the film deliver what the trailer promised? And this week we're is it a doozy? Is it a what are we?
It's definitely topical.
I think it's a big one. This is like we said, I think in our previous episode about this movie, which we haven't introduced yet. It's quite an interesting situation we find ourselves in.
I would call this one of the most fascinating movies let's say fascinating pair of movies I've ever watched. Like this sort of stuff should be in schools. If you're at film school, I genuinely think this is like teachable.
I think you're right.
From a perspective of
we'll get into
just the transformative nature of the filmmaking.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Okay, well, that makes perfect sense then.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in that case, we may as well get stuck into it. And from the outset, let's go with spoiler warnings.
Absolutely.
We're just gonna go for it on this one. So if you haven't seen this film, be aware that we're gonna spoil the heck out of it. Who would like to introduce it?
Me, please.
Yeah, you better do it.
Me, please. Mm-hmm. We're talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
The bell's been rung. Out in the dark, among the stars, the god is dead.
I had a dream. Almost like a premonition. I think there's an attack coming.
My lord, this world will fall.
I need warriors. I'm building an alliance to defend ourselves.
How do you know your team's strong enough? If you can't bring down the charging bull, then don't wave the red cape at it.
You were sent here for a reason. And even if it takes you the rest of your life, find out what that reason is.
They said the age of heroes would never come again.
It will. It has to. We live in a society where honor is a distant memory. Isn't that right, Batman?
Jared Leto, you're not going to happen. You're not going to happen.
Is that your big takeaway from this?
There's lots of blah in that.
Is,
isn't
yeah.
there? I really like that trailer.
I think that's a really good trailer.
I think that trailer is really well cut. Mm-hmm. Would we agree?
I definitely agree, and it's strange because this film, technically speaking, has already been released. I think they were less worried about spoilers in that trailer. Yeah. So there's actually stuff from the very end of the movie in that trailer, but it works. I think it's kind of work. It gets you hyped for this different version of the same story.
I suppose originally Superman was supposed to be a bit of a spoiler, but he too makes an appearance in that trailer. Once again, very much alive for some reason outside of Batman v Superman.
Though, having said that, when we did this, the original cut, your complaint, very justifiably so, was why go to the point? The effort of killing Superman to bring him back to life 90 minutes later. Well, in this movie, it's more like 120 minutes later. So there's a bit longer there.
And they justify it just a little bit better in this film as well.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's establish, first of all, someone who's listening to us might not have seen the original version of this, or they're coming to this first and going, well, what are they talking about? There's another movie. Matthew, explain to the people.
Okay, I'll try and keep this briefer than I did in our other
That would be
episode.
great.
Yeah. So Zack Snyder had finished cutting this movie when he had to step down due to a family tragedy. And so they Warner Brothers brought in Joss Whedon to take over finishing the movie. But I think the plan was originally that he would just step in and finish cutting it. But what actually happened is he reshot quite a bit of it and changed the tone and a lot of the story beats and this hot, like even brand new soundtrack. You know, it was a completely different movie. So that movie came out, and I think it's quite well known to those who were looking forward to it. It is quite a bit of a disappointment, that original 2017 version. So what this is, the Zack Snyder cut version of Justice League, is his original intention. He's gone back and he's recut the movie, doing away with all the reshoots that Joss Whedon did. None of those are in this. This is all Zack Snyder's vision. And it's a pretty big deal, because I don't think this has really ever happened before in the world of cinema.
No. We've never had the comparison between a producer's cut, a solely producer's cut, and the actual director's original vision.
Well, because we've had the director's cuts have always been a thing, so it's not a rare thing for that to be. But in this case, it's a theatrical release, re-release of a film that is almost entirely nothing compared to what was originally released.
It's very different.
They're chalk and cheese. They are two separate films. There's some similarities, but like, yes, the premise and everything is basically the same, but you get two very different experiences out of both films.
Yeah, that's true.
The first one is just painful to watch. Like, I remember watching and going, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. And when this came out, I thought, should I rewatch that version? I thought, no, it's best to not. That's how bad it is. I thought, no, it's best to not rewatch that. Don't get me wrong, this is not like Return of the King, obviously. Nothing is ever going to be that level, but it is significantly better, I think is fair to say.
Yeah.
It is longer. It is a little bit bloated. It's 4 hours long. But I think I really enjoy it. I've watched it twice.
Well, with the ability to stream this at home, I found that I watched this over a week. So I took a week to watch this, but I quite enjoyed the experience of breaking the film up into parts.
Yep.
It's quite well defined. There are bookmarks that you can basically set and that are written into the film. And, I didn't mind that. I like that it took 4 hours to tell a story. And if I watch it again, I could probably do it all in one go.
Let's be clear here. There's 3 hours worth of story here, and there's about 52 minutes worth of slow-mo. Okay.
But not the slow motion orange shot that caused so much offense in the original version.
But there's
Matt, hang on. Matt, explain what's this slow motion orange?
It is a little bit of an in-joke, but we did mention it last time we did this, that in the title sequence of the original theatrical cut of this movie, there is a slow motion shot of a thug who's robbing a store, knocking over a crate of oranges, and the oranges falling over is in slow motion. Now, Zack Snyder he's well known for his use of slow motion. That shot did kind of feel like he was laughing at himself a bit, so I'm not surprised that it's not in this version.
Okay.
I don't think...
So, Steve, yes, you were saying
Zack
slow-mo.
Snyder, I don't think realizes that someone can look really, really tough, really, really, violent, really aggressive if he just leaves the shot at a regular pace.
Sure, yeah.
Think of the Winter Soldier, start of that movie, all right? And think about how Cap lands on the boat and he's going around and he's just tearing things up. He's got his shield out, he's kicking guys overboard, and it's all at regular pace. He's not slowing down the shots just to, look how strong Cap is,
Yeah.
It's regular pace, and the movie moves naturally.
Yeah, I think it comes down to justification. I would suggest that The only slow motion shots in this, I do like slow motion, but maybe not to the degree that Zack Snyder utilizes it. But in this film, the two sort of characters it's kind of okay to use it on would be the Flash and Superman.
Yeah.
And all those sequences are great when they slow down what Superman or the Flash are doing because they both can move very quickly. That makes sense. But when you're having slow motion of there's so many things to choose from. Literally, just people just looking.
There's a scene
or turning
at the
their
end,
head in slow motion.
Well, there's a scene at the end where Aquaman is fighting a couple of parademons, and that probably I want to say maybe 5-second sequence that's been dragged out to 20 seconds.
Yeah, there are some bits, but the moment with the Flash when we sort of see his powers for the first time, that scene is awesome.
It's excellent.
Oh, you're talking about with the car?
When he like breaks through the window and he does the thing, and then he gets a hot dog for some weird reason. I get that he's a struggling, he doesn't get much.
He gives it to the dog.
I think
he
what I love
does, doesn't
about
he?
I still think probably Batman and the Flash are my two favorite characters in this because they're so just solid.
No, I would say I think the MVP here is probably Cyborg
You think so?
compared to his Justice League story, which was thin, bare,
Yeah, that's
almost
true.
not there.
Now
this
that's-
is so well.
You
thought.
touch on something there which is really good, is that in this we got the time to get the background on characters that we had
Yeah.
barely met before, and they let it breathe. They don't go
Yes.
like, he's got this power and there we go.
But it's true. Like in that original version with Cyborg, I honestly didn't feel anything about his relationship with his father.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, you feel stuff.
It's
like,
a centerpiece.
I completely believe
Yeah,
this
the relationship.
this struggling father-son relationship.
It's almost probably 4 or 5 films in one, isn't it?
Almost, yeah.
But, I mean, Cyborg gets his own cool slow-mo scene in the snow as well.
Yeah,
That-
which I think is just a little too slow. It maybe again, you're trying to prove how good of a football player he is, and you've slowed it down.
I will admit, not being a sport person, I was kind of like, do I care? Why is it so special that this guy's doing a touchdown in this?
I guess it's showing that he has this wonderful, bright future to look forward to. He's going to get a free ride wherever he goes because he's so good. And then he pretty much dies and then comes back as this metal monstrosity.
He's very angsty. I have to admit, he does have a character arc, which is terrific, but I definitely don't like him when you first meet him. It's like, you need to just calm down a little bit. Just maybe just grow up a little bit.
Well, I suppose that's the good bit about this film is that you understand the resentment.
That's true.
It's that the unlikability of the character is well earned
Yes, sure.
throughout his introduction.
Yeah.
Definitely not his backstory, but when we first meet the character, you think, why is he being such a butt to his dad?
Yeah, no, exactly. And he is. He really does.
And even this, you get a really nice backstory for Flash as well. He and his dad. Is this mostly characters with parental problems?
Yeah, I was just thinking, we got Batman. He's the chief one there, isn't he? Poor Batman. And,
When we were watching this, I was watching this with my wife, and when Cyborg's dad dies, she goes, another hero with a dead dad.
Wonder Woman doesn't even have a dad, so...
I think they all have parent issues, don't they?
Well, with different,
Different levels of severity, obviously.
Because even Aquaman goes, I got to go talk to my dad.
Yeah, that's true. Talking to father figures, though, one of my favorite. Look, this is a bold statement. I'm aware of that, but I'm fairly sure Jeremy Irons is my favorite Alfred.
Very glad he got some more screen time in this.
Yeah, he has a lot more to do in this, and he's funny. He's a very funny Alfred.
He's quite active as well. It's like
Yeah.
Alfred can move like that when there's like, don't wave the red cape, and he's
Yeah.
like, he's like, I got no.
Yeah, exactly. I actually
That's
think
how he talks,
he's
right?
a little more. He's a little more. What's the word I'm looking for? Energetic in this movie than he was in Batman versus Superman.
If he gets a metaphor to say on screen, he's very, very happy.
Yeah.
That's actually, and he delivers those metaphors incredibly well. I would suggest that he really enjoyed this movie, and so did Ben Affleck. I think Ben Affleck is having a great time here.
I just wish that Batman in this did more Batman-y things.
Yeah.
Like he does. He just acts a bit more like he's a bit more portrayed like he's a bit too much of a superhero in this. Like he's not doing a bit more of the grounded stuff. You know what I mean?
It's odd that he's so useless in that final battle. Like he really does not do a lot to get in the fray with Steppenwolf.
Well,
He's the
isn't he-
wingman.
I was gonna say, isn't he like holding off the parademons though?
Yeah, but like you barely see him during that.
Well, I guess it kind of shows perhaps his weakness in this is that really he's kind of useless in
not a
those.
god.
But I would
He's
say,
not a god.
Is that not his character arc? Perhaps as he realizes he needs the people like Superman, who in the previous movie he tried to kill, and he's learned. He's like, no, I'm only. One of my favorite lines in this, and I'm so glad to find out it's actually a Zack Snyder line, is the when Flash asks him what his superpower is, and he goes, "I'm rich."
Yeah.
Like there's a kind of acknowledgement that he's just a guy with lots of money who can do martial arts.
I would contend that Batman's story in this is probably as weak as Wonder Woman's. And I think Wonder Woman's story in this is very weak.
Wonder Woman, unfortunately, has not improved from the theatrical cut of this, unfortunately. I would suggest Batman, for me, when you consider this film is obviously following on from Bat v Supes, where Batman was very, very upset at the world and just angry. In this movie, we see Batman turning a corner, and like he says, he has that line to Alfred, which is, I've got faith suddenly, which is, so he has got an arc. He's not terrifically strong,
No.
but he has got a bit of an arc there. Which
And
is
I've
kinda nice.
always struggled with Wonder Woman as a well-written character in this current iteration. Like that first Wonder Woman, I really like.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
And when Wonder Woman 84 came out, I was like, oh, that
Yeah.
had its moments, but I feel like Gal Gadot in that I just wasn't really buying it. And I thought to myself, well, maybe that's a standalone, there are plenty of problems with these sort of things. But in this, again, I kind of just didn't enjoy her as much as I hoped I would.
Nothing quite
as a
beats,
character on screen.
Yeah, nothing quite beats her first entrance in Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
She acted well in that film. I don't think she's acted well since.
You
Yeah,
might. I think you're onto something there. She's very different in that movie.
Would you? Is it fair, or is it too far to say perhaps phoned in a bit? Like she's sort of just delivering lines, or does she think she's maybe not getting the direction that she needs?
Maybe.
I don't know. It's hard.
Who directed the original Wonder Woman film?
Patty Jenkins.
Patty Jenkins. Well, there you go. And then who did 84?
Patty Jenkins.
Yeah, now I'm confused.
Yeah. So how can those two films be so
Yeah.
different? We're getting a little off topic now, but yes.
No, we're not, because
well,
it does
it's
feed
relevant
into-
to this.
Yes, I suppose so. Yeah.
It really does, because we discussed with Wonder Woman 84 what we could see the difference between Patty Jenkins being given all this free reign to actually create her film. And actually sort of bit her in the ass.
A little bit.
It did, because Wonder Woman 84 is a bit of a mess.
Yeah. Our thoughts on that movie are well documented.
But now we've got a good comparison here. We've got what happens when your production company actually takes an active role, and maybe too much of an active role, and actually restricts the director, and you get this. I mean, Zack Snyder has extenuating circumstances,
yeah.
but you actually get to see what a Justice League film feels like to a producer at Warner Brothers, as opposed to this film where you've just got Zack Snyder off the leash.
Yeah.
And so you've got a 4-hour film, which I'm going to say, too long.
Okay, look, I disagree. However, what I will suggest to that point is I think the first half hour is a little underwhelming. But I think it continuously gets better as it goes along.
The Themyscira opening is way too long.
I kind of like the opening. I kind of like it. It's got a lot to set up.
Now, Themyscira is the land of the Wonder Woman peoples. Amazons. I kind of like the pacing of this film.
Yeah,
I thought
me too.
There's a lot of meat on the bones here, whereas the previous one was just a sack of sand.
Yeah.
Now-
I was brought back to The Irishman. I was, because I watched The Irishman over 2 sessions. I did this over two sessions.
And now The Irishman is a Netflix film, isn't it?
Yeah,
This
it's
one's
Martin
on HBO.
Scorsese,
Martin
and
Scorsese.
that is also roughly about 4 hours long. And I've said to myself, I'm not going to rewatch
Okay.
The Irishman. It's too long, and I've probably said the same thing to myself about this film as well.
Well, talking about the length doesn't bother me, but having said that, I'm already invested. I was already keen for it, which probably helped. However, the one thing that I don't know how I feel about it yet, I really don't know, that's why I want to open up this discussion, is about the aspect ratio. Now, this is a little bit of technical jargon here. It's it's just the size of your picture.
It's not always about the size, Matthew.
So you use it.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, is how they've used it here, and I don't know if it works. So basically what they've done is they've shot this in what is a very tall aspect ratio, which is actually a very high quality image. However, when you view that tall aspect ratio on a standard widescreen TV, it comes out and appears to be 4:3, which is a very old format. We're talking like, TV shows back in the 80s and 90s. But, I'm worried that aspect ratio, even though I know it's not shot technically in 4:3, it's shot in a much higher resolution than that. It makes it feel a little old to me. I would have preferred a wider presentation.
I am sure that at some point we're going to get a widescreen cut of this film.
Maybe.
I don't know. I really,
reckon?
personally, I think the 4:3 is distracting. And
I don't mind it.
I have a theory why they did it, and it's to
differentiate it from the previous one.
absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Because there are scenes in the new cut which are shot for shot from Joss Whedon's.
Sure.
original.
Yeah.
And if you did see that in 16:9 or even Letterboxd, it would look incredibly like that film and sort of hard to differentiate.
Distinguish, yeah.
It's an interesting point, and you're probably onto something there. I just like when this will have an official Blu-ray release that's been made official by Warner Bros. And I am kind of hoping they'll have two versions. The 4:3 one, if you want to project it and you can watch it as big as you want, or for normal people with normal TVs, one that's just in widescreen, so it's not too distracting to have the black bars down the side.
Yeah, so if you do stream this film and you haven't seen it yet, do not be dismayed. Your TV is not fooling you. Normally, you would have an image that covers the entirety of your screen, but in this, you will have black bars on either side of the image, and that is how it's supposed to look.
Yeah, it's an odd choice. Sometimes I think it looks really good. There are some shots that look phenomenal. Anyway, so there are some shots that look really good, and there are other shots where I look at it going, there's a lot of headroom there. Like, I feel like you could probably have zoomed in a bit or cropped some of the space.
Talking of graphical issues, in this, you don't have the Superman lip issue.
Oh, thank God.
Where they reshot stuff for the Joss Whedon ones, and Henry Cavill had a moustache because he was shooting Mission Impossible at the time,
That's right, yeah.
And they digitally removed gave him a lip, an upper lip, and it looked atrocious.
I would say the only noticeable sort of difference is the reshoots with Ben Affleck. He's looking a little bit older.
In this movie, you think?
Yeah. Especially toward the end where he's talking like Martian Manhunter.
Okay,
It's a little, it's about 3 years older.
Talking about that scene, I do feel there does feel like a few tacked on scenes in this film.
Yeah, I would agree.
I feel like the Martian Manhunter one felt a bit tacked on. I mean, they've also talked about they're not going to do another film in this, Justice League or whatever. Why introduce a new character like that?
Yeah, there's a huge cliffhanger ending. It's like, which is reshot.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, why did you shoot that if you're not going to make the second? I would love to see the follow up to this movie.
My conclusion to this conversation today was going to be that I want to see a second one. So we will get to that. But there was also another scene that they added, which I think was an add-on later, is that Snyder wanted Batman and the Joker to be in the same scene together at some point in this franchise. Because up until this point, they hadn't been in the same film.
That's right.
So,
they have a brief moment in the
Suicide Squad?
Suicide Squad, but he's on top of the car. They don't really converse or anything.
Yeah, in this they actually... It's a flash forward.
It's a dream.
It's a dream alternate sequence, something or other, of a world where apparently Superman's gone a little bit cray-cray.
Yeah,
Not only is it a flash forward, it's a flat forward as well, because it's very flat.
It's a... Was that a Joker laugh? Is that what you're trying to do?
That was
there?
what I was trying to do, yeah. It didn't really work.
That was just cut that scene. It's fine. I don't need it. Whatever. Blah blah blah.
That's the thing. If I knew that there was going to be a sequel, like it was set in stone, I would allow myself to invest a little more in those extra bits.
Why do you think he went and reshot that?
Well, because he's trying to get the second one made. I'm assuming. Yes, of course, and I want him to do that. But part of me was watching it, going, if they don't, this is a waste of time. And I don't want it to be a waste of time because it was so difficult to see this version of the film for this to be made. I mean, I can't believe that this has actually ever been released. This is incredible that this has happened.
Well, it's a lot of fan pressure to make it happen, isn't it? But then is the problem there that it creates a precedent that the next film in a Justice League, not the standalone character films, but the Avengers Endgame sort of equivalent of sorts of things, is that the next one there will be an expectation from fans that it will be a 4 hour film.
I think it definitely gives the fans a little too much currency.
I would like to talk about a toxic fan base. I mean, did the fans go too far? I mean, I think there was a lot of pressure on Warner Brothers to do this, and I'm a fan who just sort of sat back going, I would like to see that, but I'm not going to send messages to people going, you must release this.
No.
But a lot of people did, and are we okay with that? It's sort of similar to this is a reference that not everyone will get, but when Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out, there were a lot of issues, and there was so much fan backlash that the developers were forced to change the game. But is that a good thing? I mean, it raises a lot of issues as to like ethics and
when
that
it's valid potentially for the greater good of a community. Then sure, but there is always room for input from people who think that things should be different. Like you can have a creative vision, but if there are other entities that can go, look, let's massage this in a particular way. There is the caveat to that is that when it goes too far, you get a production company, or a head company just cutting stuff just because, and then ultimately the consumer loses out. In this case, you're getting everything, and like we talked about before, there's, this is a studyable, learnable thing. That you can do for this film. And it's more, I guess, about the background than it is the film itself, perhaps. I'm not sure.
I think so, yeah.
I think in this, we have benefited from that situation. Would you agree?
There is an argument to be made that this is just a one-off. COVID last year, I'm sure, put a hole in Warner Brothers. And this film was only announced in June, July last year.
Yeah, something like that.
And reshoots and CGI and all that sort of stuff were altered and redone toward the end of last year. It was a quick turnaround, and I think it was done so that Warner Brothers could post a profit.
Yeah, cash in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think, that they get a little extra boost, but there was a demand for this movie. I'm certainly glad that it exists.
Well, here in Australia, we got it on the streaming service Binge, and I would have absolutely no reason whatsoever to sign up for this service. Nor would I have known that it existed apart from the opportunity to watch this. And what's really annoying me is that I've stuck around because there are shows on there that I actually really like.
Yeah, no, I'm actually the same. I meant to
"Ah."
cancel my Binge the other day because I have no shame in admitting the only reason I signed up was to watch this movie. And now I'm going, it's got that show? I might hang around. So they got me that it worked.
If you work for Binge, send us some free subscriptions, please. That'd be great.
I'm definitely more of a cynic because I cancelled it immediately after I watched the first time.
Well, talking about companies and stuff, the product placement in this is gratuitous.
I think Mercedes might be in there at a couple of points.
Oh my word. Was it just like I don't think I've seen such a in-your-face ad for a car in media.
Yeah. It's almost as bad as that first Jurassic World film. The Mercedes logo crops up quite a few times in that movie. I don't know what it is about Mercedes in general. They always seem to appear. But
probably the last time I saw something so gratuitous was in Happy Gilmore. When he gets the Subway sponsorship? It's literally ads for Subway in the film.
I was going to say Dark of the Moon. No, was it Dark of the Moon? The one after the
we're back on Transformers again.
Age of Extinction, where obviously got a little car placement, but there's a scene where they accidentally topple over a Bud Light truck.
Oh, yeah.
And Mark Wahlberg, in Mark Wahlberg's fashion, just grabs one of the Bud Lights and opens it up, label out to the camera and takes a big squig and just throws the can away.
Yeah. But, however, I would suggest that unlike we were talking about Skyfall and the product placement in Skyfall, it doesn't bother me in this.
Okay.
I see what's happening. I'm probably never likely to ever buy a Mercedes car. So I go, there's Mercedes. Whatever. Bruce Wayne is rich. Doesn't matter.
Do you work for Mercedes? If you'd like to send us all a car, we will sprout you on the Trailer Island podcast.
Yeah, I think there's a shot in this movie where he starts up a car and there's a shot of the LED screen thing on the dash that lights up with the Mercedes logo, and it's like, okay, here we
and it pans across the front of the car and just
in a better world that would have been the Batman logo, but no, it's Mercedes.
Can we talk about just how better the score is as well?
Oh yes, this score is just terrific.
Danny Elfman was unsuited to that.
Yeah. Now we raised this in our previous episode. Danny Elfman is a terrific composer in his own right. He's great. He's done a lot of really good scores, and he just wasn't right for this movie. When he did the score for that Joss Whedon version, he even puts his own Batman theme in there. which is a great theme, but it does not work for Ben Affleck's Batman. It's just this original score by Junkie XL, who worked with Hans Zimmer on the previous two movies. One of my biggest complaints about Danny Elfman's score was he ignored all the themes that had been set up. Whereas now this score references the themes, all the characters have their moments, and all sort of, you can trace it back to like Man of Steel with Superman's theme. It just makes a lot more sense. It just works much better.
Lex Luthor's theme is one of the best bits of music in this franchise.
I mean, I did not look for the soundtrack to Danny Elfman's score, but after watching this, I was like, I need to listen to some of this Junkie XL stuff. This is fantastic.
Have you listened to the Mad Max Fury Road soundtrack?
I have not. That one didn't really pick my interest.
It's a great soundtrack. I love driving to that. Yeah, those prams, they just never get out of the way. Turns you into some kind of, what's the word, guzzling themed.
Yeah.
Guzzling.
Yeah,
does that mean like a guzzling and gasoline?
Yeah, that's what they call it in Mad Max Fury Road. Gasoline is guzzling.
It's difficult to listen to music while I drive because I've got my window down and I'm usually yelling out the window, "Witness me."
Aren't we all?
There's a reference to Fury Road.
What was I about to say about the soundtrack for this movie? It's
good.
It is good. No, it's gone. My point is gone. Sorry, everyone.
Did anybody else find Superman in this a bit wooden? He was just a bit.
I thought he was really good.
I thought is it like the rest of this movie an improvement?
Okay.
Like you could tell that he was much more passionate about this character, what little there is, but this character arc that he's got in this version of the movie than he was in the reshoots in 2017.
At least he doesn't fly into the last battle and says, "I'm a big fan of justice."
Yeah.
I want to talk about the bad guy.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Steppenwolf. Man, that guy is cool. He looks cool.
He's cooler.
He looks so much better. The CGI is so much better. He has a backstory.
Yes.
We get hero backstories. We get his backstory.
I
we
like
know
his workplace drama that he's going through.
Yeah, like why he wants to prove himself to these people. And the dude has emotion as well. You see how much he's pleading to be successful this. And you almost feel like, I kind of feel bad for the guy in a way.
Sure.
I'm like, if he succeeds, then good on him.
By the way, though, talking of feeling bad for the guy, I think he's got one of the best villain deaths I've seen in a superhero movie for a while.
I hate that death.
I thought, it was so good.
No, that was again Zack Snyder. Slow-mo for the sake of slow-mo.
No, I completely disagree.
I agree that there is slow-mo for the sake of slow-mo in this, and it probably would have been 20 minutes shorter if everything was just normal speed. You're absolutely correct. But I liked it.
Yeah, I really liked it. I liked how they all worked together, and it was just nice.
The winner was friendship, wasn't it?
No, I think the real winner is construction companies.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
Repairing stuff.
That poor monument to Superman.
It gets a real beating, doesn't it?
It really does.
Like in this movie and the previous movie.
Which sort of, they make another one of these, it really does need to go through the ringer once more.
Do you think if they were to make Justice League 2, Zack Snyder would finally move on from the fact that there's a Krypton ship crashed in Metropolis? There's because I think he keeps going back to that set with every movie, which is fine.
There's so much to explore, guys. There's so much to explore.
Oh, look, there's a janitor's closet over there. Let's set a scene in that.
It comes Russell Crowe again.
Quick, get out the hologram. I don't think he talks like that.
No, he doesn't. No. Talking of actors though, J.K. Simmons as Gordon, I thought was terrific. I wanted more of him.
Yeah,
really. And you know what was also really cool is that my brother-in-law's partner is in this movie.
Wait, really?
Yes.
How about that?
It's awesome. She hands the paperwork to Gordon.
Oh, I love that.
And it's like, here's your messages for you.
How about that?
And I'd kind of because. From what I know, they'd filmed all this stuff for the original cut, and of course we'd just forgotten about it. And then my wife and I, we were watching the movie, and we're like, "Oh, there's a scene with Gordon." It's like, didn't she play isn't she? And we were like, "Oh my god, look at it!" We paused the film, and we were so excited, and I've never seen someone I know in a movie before.
Yeah, especially a movie of this scale.
Yeah. Matt, do you think you'll ever be in a movie? If you could be...
I was about to say none that are legal. No, go on. We might have to cut that.
I'm not cutting that. Read into that as you will.
It was just a joke. Oh no, you're going to ask me a question about.
If you could be in a superhero movie, not necessarily Justice League,
Okay.
DC, Marvel, Twister, I don't care. Tell me, what would you be?
I would definitely be Alfred, not because I'm English, but because
You're going with a specific character.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
what was your question?
Oh, like you could just be a civilian.
Oh no,
Like, you could just live in that world. You wouldn't necessarily
I
need
see.
the responsibility of being a superhero or join to a superhero. What would you enjoy watching the events around you unfold?
Oh, I understand the question now. Well, we kind of get that in that movie. Like, we see a janitor in this, like, sort of the normal people kind of thing. I think this movie kind of has a little nod to it, but I always feel like in superhero movies, especially like the traditional Superman, there was, him saving a cat from a tree, or there were dogs that nearly... You know what I'm talking about, that kind of cliche.
Yeah.
I'd love to be the animal carer who just happens to witness this unfold as a superhero comes to rescue these animals, and you're standing there going, I am useless at looking after animals.
I thought you were about to say you'd be the cat up the tree.
I usually am in life. But yeah.
You'd make a good Cheshire cat.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that.
Steve, could you? What would you be?
I would be one of the people in Steve Rogers' support group in Endgame.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And I'd be like, I can't cope. I need help.
Yeah. It feels weird talking about a Marvel movie when we're talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
It feels refreshing, doesn't it? Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
It's
That was
like
quite
it's
good.
like talking about quality wood.
I think we should start summing up. I think.
What's it? We have to work out what it's out of.
Oh, yes.
We had
Reshoots.
crusty scripts, maybe fresh scripts this time.
Or just complete scripts.
Complete scripts, yeah.
Mother boxes.
Yeah,
$50 million,
What?
because that was the budget for this. For the reshoots.
For the reshoots,
Yeah.
As in Joss Whedon's reshoots, or the stuff they had to do to finish it off.
Yeah, to finish it off.
$50 million. Imagine just get like someone going, look, here's $50 million.
Go play. Just go finish it.
Do you have $50 million? Would you like to share?
We'll
$50 million in a Mercedes.
Yeah, we'll shoot a scene with Ben Affleck and Jared Leto just for the hell of it. All right,
out of five watts.
Coffee. I feel like there's a lot of slow motion shots of people holding cups of coffee.
What about just slow-mo shots?
I think slow mo shots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or
that's
slow-mo
good.
sausages.
All right, yeah, like that. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
That's
All right,
that's
how
good.
many slow-mo sausages? I feel like, Steve, you're going to be a little bit grumpy about this. So, Matthew, you go.
It's hard to sum up a movie that's literally 4 hours long, and I honestly think it's 4 hours of absolute delight. I think, it's obviously it's a Zack Snyder film. It is a bit, gritty and heavy. Not so much as heavy as Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. It is a bit lighter than those two movies. But I've watched this twice and both times in one sitting. I really enjoyed it. Literally, my only complaint is that aspect ratio. I think it'll grow on me. I think I'll get used to it. There are some shots that look, especially the last half of the movie, looks better in that aspect. But I it's a fun CGI filled action movie. I mean, it's not Citizen Kane, it's not Lawrence of Arabia. I think it achieves everything it wants to do. I really enjoyed it. I did say in the last one I was looking forward to this, and when it came out I would watch it with a couple of whiskeys. I didn't want to do that the first time around because I wanted to get through it, but the second time around I did. It improved the viewing significantly. So I'm going to take half a point off for that aspect ratio. Still undecided on that, but 4.5 from me.
Ooh, hot dang.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you quite a lot with all those points. I don't have a huge amount to add to what I said before. I really enjoyed this. I became more and more engaged as the film went on. The epilogue, I was like, I don't really need any of that. It's fine. In those final battles, I found myself like my periphery vision was closing in and focusing on the film, and I was quite engaged with what was going on. There are small things like the violence in this is in parts is quite graphic.
There's a lot of blood.
Yeah.
People are hurt, and you laugh, but it adds to the story.
It does, yeah.
For me, like the impact of it, there is, as much as a superhero film can be, there is a sense of reality in that. I didn't have any problems with the 4x3. I found it engaging. The story itself, I was a bit like, hey, they could have done things a bit better here and there. It's not going to be my go-to movie of the year, but it is great as just a casual watching film. And it's just such infinitely better than the previous version that I just really enjoyed it. So I'm going to give it 4.
Sure. Okay. I'm going to go 3. It's a solid 3. And that is because, we do sit here and we go, comparing to the old film, this is so much better. And that's an okay thing to say, but when we're judging this film on its singular merits, it's not a super engaging story. It's not. I think some of the character motivations can be a little skew-whiff and very thin at best. You know, Aquaman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are, they're not strong characters in this. It's great to see Steppenwolf have an actual backstory, a little bit of a layer, because that was definitely all that he was missing from the original cut. Apparently, there's a black and white version of this film.
Is there?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
But the runtime is a massive problem for me, and I think that is where Zack Snyder needs a production company.
Okay.
That's where he needs someone to go, you can have a 3-hour film, that's fine. Like, you can pull that off. That's been done before. Endgame was 3 hours and, Infinity War was 2.5. You can do that, but you just need to tone down some of the style there, because if you do, you're not going to lose the substance either.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a solid 3.
Okay.
Compared to half the script, which I gave it before.
Yeah. Quite an improvement.
Yeah.
Was that 11 and a half out of 15?
Before we wrap up, I do have one question. Now that you've seen this, Steve, would you be more willing to rewatch the extended cut of Batman versus Superman?
I mean, I'll sit down and watch it, but at the same token, like, you can't.
Okay,
Let's talk about that when we get to that.
Okay, all right. That was quite a conundrum you had there.
This is 3 hours 52. It's too long.
Okay,
It is too long.
Okay,
If you had to go to the cinema to watch it, sure, but you had the leisure of doing it at home.
Yeah.
Which I think is that plays into its advantages.
I would have liked to have seen it on a big screen.
Me
though.
too.
There are some really cool bits, and the music too.
so
if we could
good.
hear that on a full sound system, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
All right, so that was what was it? Justice League. The
Zack Snyder's.
Zack Snyder's Justice League. Hey, look, we've been the Trailer Island podcast, and you can catch us every Wednesday from wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Google, Amazon, Apple, something or other, blah, blah, blah. Send us a message on the Facebook page. If you've got a request, let us know who you are, where you're from. We'll plug your town. We'll talk about your movie, and we'll go from there. You can send us an email or contact@trailerisland.com.au. Matthew, did you enjoy the movie?
I really enjoyed the movie, yeah.
Steve? I enjoyed the movie, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad.
Did you enjoy it, Alex?
I did.
Good.
It was good. I like Steppenwolf. He's a cool guy.
I like his armor.
I feel like you could grate some nice parmesan cheese on it.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
You'd be like, spicy parmesan.
I'm made out of pencil sharpeners.
His armor does look a bit like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, the big pencil sharpener.
The big pencil sharpener. All right. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, we're wrapping up. That's right. Cheers.
Hooray.
We have been the Trailer Island podcast. This week, I was joined by...
Matthew.
Darkseid's brother, Dark Steve.
And I've been Alex. Yes, we have been the Trailer Island podcast. If you enjoy the podcast, share it with your friends. Leave us a review. Give us a 5-star review on whatever you're doing. It really helps us to find the more of an audience out there. And the more requests, the more episodes we can do. I think that's about it.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Go and watch the Snyder Cut now.
Yeah. Good night, everybody. Good night.
I'm a big fan of justice.
This is a Narrative Network podcast.